What's the difference? Leveled and decodable readers. The main purpose of this video series has been to explore and explain some of the differences and possibly some of the similarities concerning terms and concepts we use in the field of literacy. Today, I'm covering the topics of leveled readers and decodable readers, specifically for our beginning or struggling learners. I also want to touch on a couple of questions about each kind of text toward the end of the video. First, let's talk about leveled readers. Leveled readers were made popular by Fountas and Pinnell through guided reading groups within the balanced literacy framework. Fountas and Pinnell categorized early readers and trade books on a continuum, from easier books being at level A all the way to more difficult books being at level Z. They had many variables to help them know where a book fell on that text continuum, or they called it a text gradient. Some of them included the genre of the book, the text structure, the content of the book, and the sentence complexity found in the book, among other variables. All right, level readers, especially those in the beginning levels on the text gradient, have predictable sentence patterns, which we'll see in a minute. With leveled readers, a good percentage of the words cannot be decoded or sounded out, which limits orthographic mapping. And because many of the words cannot be sounded out, context clues like looking at the picture or thinking about what would make sense in the sentence, they're needed to quote unquote read the words. Now I say it like that because our learners really aren't focused on reading the actual words. This would be an example of a leveled reader. Let's say this book is called At the Zoo. 2 sample pages from this book may read, "This is a giraffe. It has spots. This is a zebra. It has stripes." In this text, we have predictable sentence starters. We have "this is a," and the second sentence, "it has." Now, the predictability of the sentences can be problematic because I would argue it encourages and even enables learners to just memorize the book, not to actually read the words themselves. So our learners may sound fluent, but they're not really focused on the actual words. There's another problem, I would say, and this problem is the one that made me realize the harm in using leveled readers. What happens when I give a child with limited phonics knowledge this reader? Let's say I've just taught them about closed syllable words. I want them to apply their new knowledge to reading in context, right? But the text has several words that don't fit the closed syllable pattern. How will our reader figure out giraffe, zebra, and stripes? And I would argue if they're just learning about closed syllables, spots is going to be another one that'll be very tricky. There's really no way a beginning reader would be able to look at these underlined words and figure them out without relying on the picture or what would make sense, which we call the context. Another option is using decodable readers. Decodable readers are best used in small groups based on learners' needs, although they can be used in a whole group settings. Instead of having predictable sentences or sentence patterns, decodable readers focus more on using predictable sound spelling patterns. This means that a good percentage of the words can be sounded out or decoded. This allows our readers to engage with orthographic mapping from the very start. And also because of this, context clues are not needed to read the actual words. Let's call this decodable reader At the Zoo. So we're going to use the same title. 2 sample pages may read, "I have lots of spots and can run fast. Can I run? Can I run fast? I have spots too." Let's try that again. "I have lots of spots and can run fast. Can I run fast? I have spots too." While this book does have some predictability, with both pages containing the phrase "I have," and we've got sight words in here too, I would argue that this decodable reader has lots of predictability, mostly with the sound spelling pattern. So if I'm teaching closed syllable words with the short vowel pattern, and I've even taught blends or digraphs to my learners, on these 2 pages alone, we have several words with this pattern, with the closed syllable pattern. We have lots, spots, and, can, run, and fast. And on that second page, I forgot to underline run. And this gives our readers plenty of practice with the phonics pattern we just taught them, which helps to keep their eyes on the words. Pictures are not needed to read these words because they have the actual strategies in their pocket to read the actual words. So to drive this point home, if I initially gave them these 2 texts, but I took all the pictures out of them and just typed them up on pieces of paper, which text would my beginning reader be able to actually read? And the answer is obviously the decodable reader. Now, while we tend to pit leveled readers against decodable readers, they do share some similarities. First, both the beginning leveled readers and the decodable readers serve the same purpose. They serve as training wheels. So beginning leveled readers and beginning decodable books, they're used temporarily. We don't want to use them forever. So I remember the goal when I was teaching balanced literacy was to get those kids into trade books, to get them to actually be reading the words. Decodable readers, the same thing. You want your kids reading the words. We want to eventually not use decodable readers anymore and get them into trade books. Now, the thought with leveled readers is once you get to a certain alphabet level or level of reading, maybe J or K, we'll start mixing in some trade books and doing less of the leveled books as far as controlled text and more trade books. Now, with decodable text, as our learners grow in their phonics knowledge, the need to use decodable readers decreases. Now, as to how much phonics knowledge our readers need to have, there's really not a magic formula, but I do have some signs you can look for in my blog post called Using Decodable Books, and I'll link to that in the description below. Okay, another similarity is that both kinds of text don't build strong comprehension strategies. Comprehension is important, and we may be able to have some comprehension with the beginning level readers and with the decodable readers, but your comprehension skills and strategies are best modeled through interactive read-alouds of quality text. That is where we're really going to build those comprehension strategies with readers that are young readers and are struggling readers. Another similarity is that both kinds of text can use controlled language, which can sound stifled. This was my main complaint with decodable readers years ago, but it certainly can happen with leveled readers too. One more similarity, teachers that use either kind of text recognize that one size does not fit all. Readers have different needs, and they're not all on the same developmental level. Okay, let's quickly talk about 2 common questions when it comes to leveled readers and decodable readers. First, what do I do with all my leveled readers? With the push for structured literacy, for the science of reading, and using more decodable text, especially for our beginning and struggling readers, what do you do with all your leveled readers? The school in which I taught had an entire room dedicated to a leveled book library. So what happens to all those books? I do believe there are some things we can use leveled books for. For example, book and print awareness skills. So what is the title of the book? Find the first sentence on the page. Can you find a question mark on this page? So we can use them that way. Another reason we can use them for vocabulary. So let's say you have English language learners who are working on concepts about the zoo. You can look through that leveled book about the zoo and think about animals that we find at the zoo by looking at the pictures. Oral language and retellings based on the storyline, if there is one. Learners can also read the pictures, quote unquote, read the pictures and retell the story. Phrasing and expression. Certain leveled readers may lend themselves to practicing phrasing and expression, both a part of fluency. For example, learners could echo read sentences, or they could work on scooping phrases in the sentences. Last but not least, phonics application. Now, not all level readers are bad. Some leveled readers are going to have text that our learners can actually decode. They lean more toward decodability. And I will say, in general, all books are decodable readers to a certain degree. Some may have no words they can decode, while others may just have a few on the page. So some leveled readers are going to lean more toward decodable, and we can actually use those to practice phonics. Okay, a second question. Are there really quality decodable readers? Really, one complaint I had early on was that the language seemed too stifled or manipulated. And I think that was definitely the case with those early decodable readers, but thank goodness, decodable readers have come a long way over the years. There's places to grab them. One I would say is All About Reading. It's an Orton Gillingham-based reading curriculum with decodable readers. I've seen homeschoolers use it, classroom teachers use it. Phonic Books is they have a great variety of decodable readers. I do have some word family readers that would lean more toward decodable on my website, and I would love to write more. That takes a lot of time. Thank goodness the Measured Mom has already created some for fiction and nonfiction. They're fantastic. She also has a blog post where she went and bought a bunch of decodable readers, and she tells you what she thinks about them. And I would have to say Bob Books. They have been a favorite of many homeschoolers and teachers over the years. Now, my oldest son was not a fan, but my younger children did read them. Here are a few more blog posts that can help you navigate leveled readers and decodable readers. And also in the blog post that's related to this video, I'm sharing 2 books that have helped me understand how to use decodable books with learners. Thanks for joining me at This Reading Mama, where you'll find hands-on learning for home or school.